when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Hello there, book clubbers. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're dancing in your seat. I'm Jeff Kanata. I'm here with Lana Bashinsky.
Hello, good morning. First book club of a new era, Jeff. It's pretty exciting times.
It's exciting. It's pretty weird to be here without, a Stephen Erickson novel at our fingertips. But I'm pretty excited about this week. This is going to be a little different, a little special. The first thing we're doing this week, ladies and gentlemen, is we are going to sort of outline the plan for the next sort of big bite out of the apple, the next thing we're doing, the next major book. And you, if you are a patron to DLC at patreon.com/DLC pod, where the audio version of the show is exclusive to patrons, you will get to decide what we do next. We have set up a poll over on the Patreon that you can vote for if you're a patron at any level. And you can decide what is next for the book club. And we got some pretty cool choices. These were selected. One comes directly from our audience, from the Discord, which is 5x5 DLC on Discord. The book club section there had a bunch of suggestions for what we do next. Lana went through and tallied up how many times things were mentioned, and we came to the one that got mentioned most often. So that will be the community suggestion. We also got suggestions over the last 2 weeks from Stephen Erickson and from AP Canavan, the Critical Dragon. So that rounds out two more of the four picks. And then our fourth pick comes from Lana Bashinsky herself, because I suggested Malazan Book of the Fallen originally. So it's only right that Lana gets to be in the mix for her pick of what she's excited to read next. But you certainly don't have to vote that way. You can choose whatever you'd like to see. So Lana, what are our selections?
All right. So those who listened to our previous two episodes with AP and Steve have a little bit of a spoiler. Steve and AP both had a couple sort of bubbling suggestions, but we selected from Steven's pick was Becky Chambers' The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. That is Stephen Erickson's choice for us. AP had a few, but we had a little bit of overlap. Spoiler warning from we got Janny Wirt's Cursed of the Mist Wraith, another first book in a long fantasy epic. Very exciting. My pick is Gene Wolfe's Book of the New Sun. We saw a little bit of love for that in the YouTube and Discord comments, so I know some other folks are out there. That is an intriguing book that I think has the type of complexity that this podcast would really do well with. And our community suggestion, boy, oh boy, was I surprised. It is a pretty tight race with a difference of literally one vote. But
Wow.
Coming out on top, Robin Hobb's Assassin's Apprentice.
Yes, the first Realm of the Elderlings book. Neither of us, Lana nor myself, have read any Realm of the Elderlings. So, actually all four of these selections we haven't read or have no experience with. I don't think we've even read any of the author's other works. So it would be completely new author for us. So that's pretty exciting. And we really want this to be, something that gets you excited. If you're here because you love Malazan, we love Malazan too. I think at some point we're going to return to Malazan and do other books from that series, but we want to, tackle something else for a little while. And hopefully this way you can be excited just as much as we're excited because you have a voice in determining what we do next. So we'll open this up. It is February 5th, 2026 right now. Voting will last 1 week. So you have a week from today to get your vote in before we, find out the official results. Next week's episode will reveal the book we're doing next, and then we'll hop on the book club and delve into a new book series potentially. Very exciting. Very exciting.
Very, very exciting. Should I give like honorable mentions to some of the other ones that got mentioned a lot?
Yeah, why not?
In by the difference of one vote. Oh my gosh, it was so close. Was the Good Old Knight of Knives? So I could imagine that we'll be returning there shortly after whatever our next journey is. A lot of folks in there for Guy Gabriel Kay. That was on AP's list as well. So another potential for the future. And then the other person who was mentioned the most was actually Gene Wolfe, which was my recommendation. So
that's very good.
Feeling very aligned with our community and our tastes. So we feel like we're riding the vibe train together, and I love it.
I got to say, any one of these 4 books, I'm very excited to delve into. So whichever comes up, I'm going to be thrilled, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes moving forward. And again, we want this to be interactive and a two-way street. That said, we got something a little different this week. I need to give a little bit of backstory for this one. You probably already know what we're talking about based on the title of this video, but I want to give a little bit of a backstory because Lana and I have been doing the book club for 3 years now. And so it's been a big part of my life, and I've talked about it with my family, and my son has seen me read, Malazan, and me curled up next to him. We do reading nights where he reads and I read, and we sit next to each other, usually on his bed, and read together. And, his mom comes, we all read. So it's very, family focused experience. So he knows why I'm reading, or, not why, but one of the features of my reading is to do this show. And I told him, we were finishing up this huge 10-book series, and we didn't know what we were going to do next. And my son, Jack, says to me, well, you know what you should do, Dad? You should do Wednesday Wars. Now, the only reason he read Wednesday Wars is because his school puts together a yearly book challenge list of, I think it's something like 20 books to read over the course of the year. And earlier this year, or I guess it was late last year, I went to the library and just checked out several books from the list at random, really just whatever was available from the list. I just went down the list, and whatever was available at the library to be checked out, I checked it out. So I checked out 3 books for him, and, he grumbled and said, I don't know if I want to read. I don't. He likes reading, Diary of a Wimpy Kid and all these, they're fine. It's and reading anything at, he's 9, reading anything is great, but I wanted him to, delve into this book of this. I had no idea what these titles were, but if his school was suggesting them, I was like, yeah, give it a shot. And they were a little more, a little less cartoonish than the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And, I can't remember the other series he loves, but it's similar. Anyway, so we read all 3 books, and one of them was Wednesday Wars. And so he said to me, Dad, you should do Wednesday Wars next on the book club. And I smiled to myself and I said, oh, that's very charming that he has a suggestion. And I mentioned it in passing to Lana, who said, we should definitely do that. That would be fun to, she said, because Lana's amazing. You said, I'm up for it. And so I thought to myself, actually that would be really charming to do an episode, maybe not even release it. Do just, read the book. Lana's up for it. It's a short book. It's a kid's book. Lana and I both read it. We do like a fake episode just to sort of, as a gift to my son, make him feel heard and seen, and, talk about a book that he suggested we talk about. And because Lana's amazing and is willing to give her time and energy for that, I was like, that'd be fun. So I sent Lana the book on Kindle, and I said, maybe that's what we'll do if you have a minute. And then I read the book, and it turns out this is an amazing book.
It's incredible. I couldn't put it down.
So in the context of like, it's a book on a list of books for kids, it won an award. I should have it in front of me, but I can't remember the name of the award it won.
I'll find it.
But it's meant for young kids. It's meant for my son's age. He's 9. So I must admit, pretty low expectations going into it. I thought it was going to be sort of this frivolous kind of Diary of a Wimpy Kid style thing. Go ahead. It's what?
I was going to say, it's the Newbery honor winning.
Yeah. So I'm not familiar with that award specifically. I'm sure it's a big deal, but so the book has been recognized. But you think, oh, we're doing a kind of a solid to my kid, just reading a book that he liked. I have to tell you, I was weeping multiple times reading this book. I was intensely emotional, and I have never felt closer to my son in that he read this and he went, oh, my dad would like this. My dad does a book club. I should. And I had no idea what it was about. No idea what it was about when I checked it out of the thing and gave it to him. And I have done lots of Shakespeare in my life. I love Shakespeare. I am, I consider that to be, a major sort of part of my life that, I've performed Shakespeare many, many times. I've done Shakespeare festivals. I studied Shakespeare. I care very deeply about it. And that my son saw that and thought of me and suggested this. And reading it, the relationship that one has with a book when you're by yourself and the author and you're just this one-to-one thing. And I couldn't help, as I was reading it, feeling like my son had that same connection, and somehow we're both connected through the reading of this book. And the fact that it's so lovely and so heartfelt and so good at its core, I've never been prouder of him. I've never felt closer to him. And so I thought, let's do this as a real episode, because this book actually, I think adults, people reading this channel, Malazan fans, would love this book because it's kind of about compassion.
It's so beautiful. I remember seeing in the comments at some point during the YouTube that you mentioned Wednesday Wars. And clearly at this point, you didn't know what it was. You said, oh, my son suggested Wednesday Wars. And I was like, let's do it. Why not? And somebody in the comments was like, I actually would love an episode on Wednesday Wars. I remember seeing somebody in there being like, for real though. And I was like, okay, this will be not something that I think would be too much of a derailment for people to see us talk about something different. And I know it's so dumb to be like, don't judge a book by its cover. But the cover of the book does not feel like the depth of the book that you read. It doesn't feel, it's got a cover that would appeal to young adults, or young,
not even young
younger
adults,
than young kids.
Yeah.
It's like a colorful sort of illustration of a kid in a desk with two very cartoony little rats around him. The Newbery Award is for exemplary children's literature. It is so good. I was so immediately drawn and pleasantly surprised from my perspective of all this. We chatted about it briefly when you mentioned it on the show. And then I was at the gym and I just get an email that's like, Jeff Canada has sent you the Wednesday Wars. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. And I picked it up on Monday night, and I had just a little bit of time to read, and I was like, it's okay. I know it's like a kid's book. It's going to be really short. And then on Tuesday night, I just planted in a chair and read through the whole thing, which, as you mentioned before we started recording, is about the length of a one Steven Erikson chapter. Overall,
I read it in 2 sittings, and you know how much slower I am than Lana. So,
and it was just, it's beautiful. It is so charming how it's written, the language that is used, the perspective of the character, and the maturity to handle the naiveness with which a kid would see the world, how he would perceive being put upon by the world, and then how a kid would sort of perceive tragedy happening around him without it necessarily being a core affectation to his life.
Yeah.
It's delightful. It is so good.
I totally agree. It reminded me of movies like The Sandlot, You
Mm.
know, I don't know if you've seen The Sandlot, but The Sandlot is, you know, it's a movie from the kid's perspective, and uses kid logic. And this book is written from the kid's perspective. I think the use of language is beautiful, and it really is, I think, proof of what Stephen Erickson talked to us about so many times about sort of avoiding sentimentality when you talk about something that is sentiment, like the matter of factness with which this kid is talking about very powerful things
Hmm.
accentuates the power of those things.
Yeah.
And I love this book. I really love it. I can't
So,
believe how good it is.
so the book itself, because we just continue to say that it's great, is a
Yeah.
historical fiction. My God, there's so few character names, and yet I still am like, what? It's
It takes place
Halling.
in 1967.
Yeah,
Yeah, Halling
Halling
Hood,
Hood.
which I kept waiting for a joke there. I kept waiting for something to land. And
That
it's
was
just, that's his name, is Halling Hood.
just one person mispronounces it once, kind of.
Yeah.
But set in the 60s in America during the Vietnam War. And it's a kid going to school and just doing kid things at school, really. But the way that his town is set up is that, you know, basically half of the town is Jewish. And so on Wednesdays, they go to temple. The other half of the town is Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
And they go to church, and he is Presbyterian.
Yep.
And so he doesn't have Wednesday church. So on Wednesdays, all of the other kids in the city go do their other religious things that they do, and he stays at the school. And there's a teacher there who has to stay at the school with him on Wednesdays and sort of make sure
Yeah.
that he has a place to be.
All the kids get pulled out at the end of school on Wednesday, and there used to be 3 Presbyterian kids, and they both moved away. And so this is the first year where he's all by himself, and he's stuck with Mrs. Baker. So chapter 1, oh sorry. So again, that's the setup for the book. If you haven't read it, I would highly suggest reading it. Like I said, we read it very, very quickly. It's a breezy read. I got it for $8 on Kindle. I'm sure your local library has it, like mine did for my son. Could not recommend this higher for just a lovely, heartfelt, beautiful, heartwarming read. But we're going to get into spoilers starting now, because we're going to give this book the full treatment. I didn't think we would when I first brought this up, but I think it deserves the full treatment.
It does.
So
yeah.
We're going to go chapter by chapter. So chapter 1, and each chapter is a month of the year. So we start in September with school back in session, and the new norm here is that the 2 other Presbyterian kids not around. So poor Halling has to be all by himself with the teacher, Mrs. Baker, who he is convinced hates his guts, right?
In exactly those terms. Pretty sure she hates my guts.
Yeah. So we get some interesting details here. One is a character named Doug Switek, who has a list of 410 ways to make teachers hate you, and most of them are illegal. And he's been suspended many times.
Yeah,
because of this.
There's clearly, like the class clown, like troublemaker kind of kid. I forget. Said that he was suspended for doing like number 166. So they've got the numbers, but they don't say what they are. Halling describes one of the things that is like such a resonant childhood thing, which is like they as kids have a corner in the room somewhere behind their coat closet where they throw food that they don't want. So they're collecting in some box, some pile of aged garbage to eventually do one of the numbers that you can imagine anything a kid might do with a pile of disgusting moldy food. So that it's sort of describing the shenanigans that the kids get up to, and you sort of start getting a picture of this class and what Halling's classmates are like.
Yeah. So he comes home from school the first day. He lives. I love how the setup here, where you can tell where people live by their last name, because if it ends in ski or whatever, or berg, it's one side of the tracks. If it's ends in a vowel, it's the other side of the tracks. So, or I guess ski would interval, but you get the drift. It's and their house is right in the middle, which his father considers to be the perfect house. It's neither, which is, extends the metaphor of some of the kids go here on Wednesday, some of the kids go there on Wednesday. I'm stuck in the middle. I don't do either of those things. And that's exactly where he lives, in this perfect house with his, there's a perfect room in that house that is untouched. I had one. My grandmother had one of those when I was a kid. Very, very relevant to me. I remember a room that was not to be walked into, not to be stepped on the carpet of.
It's for guests to look at that room.
That's right.
And be
the guests are more important
room.
than the family. That's the message. Anyway, so he comes home from the first day of school and he wants to find an ally here. He's got it. He walks up to his mom and he says, "My teacher hates me." And she says, "How was your day?" And he says, "My teacher hates me." And she says, "Oh, your teacher doesn't hate you." And he's like, "Oh, of course, parents don't understand." Goes to dad. "Dad, my teacher hates me." Dad says, "Hey, can't you tell that Walter Cronkite's on right now? I'm not talking to you right now."
TV's on, kid. Come on. Yeah. So he has to wait for a commercial so that he could talk to his dad about something. Yeah. And his dad's like, "Mrs. Baker, the question of checking who the name is, what are their known associations in his network? His dad is an architect. Well, you have to be really nice to Miss Baker, because if it's the Mrs. Baker I'm thinking of, she is related to the person who owns Baker Sporting Emporium, and they're going to need a new building. And so you have to be on your best behavior so that I get the contract. Hood and Associates gets the contract, and you have a company to take over when I retire."
That's right. Everything Dad cares about is reputation, is career, and you are just a prop in that calculus.
Yeah, you can't mess that up for me. If you're going and making a bad name for Hood, it's going to come back to my business. So be nice to Mrs. Baker.
That's right. And I love how from that point on over the next few chapters, before the renovation of Baker's Sporting Emporium's contract is determined, everything that goes through his head, in the narrative is, but I thought about what Dad said, and what's good for Hood and Associates. It's just great. So obviously he's not found an ally from his parents. He goes to his sister, who even worse, to ask her for help, and she's like, don't associate with me. At least don't rub any of your lack
little
of popularity
brotherness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. She's like a teen girl. The picture of the household as well, like of the era, it's like she's listening loudly to the Monkees in her room,
so great.
Which I could just picture. And I think it's described in this, like his mother's in the kitchen, standing near the window that she opens so that we know she doesn't smoke. But even the fact that he's saying that, so we know that she doesn't smoke. Everybody knows that she doesn't smoke. It's like such a facade of like perfect housewife kind of thing of in your perfect house and you're being perfect and you definitely don't smoke and we definitely don't know about it.
That's right. So anyways, back to school. He's certain that not only does Mrs. Baker hate him, she literally wants him dead. This is the child mind here, is that they want me dead, and oftentimes the other kids at school want me dead. They're going to kill me. You're dead meat, So he walks in and sees Mrs. Baker kind of looking at his desk. And so he assumes that there's going to be a bomb that she placed in his desk. So he asks this lovely little girl, Meryl Lee Kowalski, to open the desk. And she's like, "What?" And she's like, "I don't know. She likes me. Maybe she'll do what I ask." And she's like, "Why do you want me to open the desk?" He's like, "Because there's a present in there for you." And she's like, "For me?" And he's like, "For you." And she opens the desk and there's nothing. And he's relieved because he thought there was a bomb. He thought she was going to blow up. It's really ridiculous. And there's nothing in there, including not a bomb. He's relieved, but she's like, "What? There's no gift." And he's like, yeah. Sorry about that. So she's mad at him.
Well, I love the it did feel like such a good kid scene. He's like, "Meryl Lee will do it because she told me she doesn't love me. So I know that she is," which is how kids talk. And then he's like, "Here's the thing." And there it's written as so she has genuine excitement. It's like, there's a gift. So you're like, "Oh, she does like him." And then she drops the lid of the desk. And he's like, "Well, that was pretty loud." She's like, "Oh, sorry, I forgot your fingers weren't in there." So there's like the immediate hate, the immediate, like, we're still kids that all kind of like want to beat each other up kind of has
Yeah.
It's just, it felt, I remember having interactions like that with people. It's just, it's really resonantly written
And
from that perspective.
this is, we should have mentioned, this is 7th grade, right?
Yes,
And 7th grade to me was the worst year of my life. 7th grade was torture, you know? And so, yes, everything feels like a threat. Everything is just complicated. You don't understand how people work. Your parents don't understand you anymore, and you don't understand yourself, and everyone at school wants to kill you. It's just, I related 100% to this. So, time for recess. It's soccer. One of the kids that wants to kill him, Holling, is Doug Switek's older brother, who, bad dude. He's been in 3 jails, you know?
Yeah, 3 jails. We believe that he's been in 3 jails. But even just the idea, I called him Sweetik. I don't know. It's probably Switek. But he was his brother. It's Doug Sweetik and Doug Sweetik's brother. I don't think we ever get his name. It's always that's his brother. That's his brother.
Yeah. Older brother, bad dude, scary dude, wants him dead, wants to kill him.
8th graders, right?
He's what?
He's like in 8th grade. He's part of the 8th graders.
Yeah, I think I think he's even older, but I don't know. Yeah, definitely, you know, older kid. And soccer, he's coming at him. He's gonna kill him, and Holling trips him on purpose to get away. Switek's brother goes head first into the railing and then comes up like massive head trauma. It's actually kind of disturbing how injured he is, and like misses school for weeks because of it.
Well, yeah, he misses school for 1 week, I think, because he has like a huge concussion from being tripping into the soccer post.
Yeah.
But then he realized like, oh, they're checking for serious head trauma. So then he comes back to school and fakes further head trauma.
Yeah.
So that he doesn't have to go to school because he's a troublemaker.
Troublemaker. All right. So chapter 2 is October. We have Holling in his first Wednesday situation where he's all alone with Miss Baker, who he sure hates him. She is organizing or helping to organize some outreach to some of the wives and family members of soldiers in Vietnam. And they are baking some cream puffs, these delicious cream puffs, or not baking, but procuring these delicious cream puffs that are so amazing. Everybody wants them. He has to haul these cream puffs up 3 flights of stairs to get them to the right place because they're going to take them after school. So basically, Mrs. Baker is just giving him, chores to do.
Yeah, I think before the cream puffs, like she's given him chores to do, like organizing things, or like going to cleaning, like chalkboards, or like whatever the various things are. Mrs. Baker is sort of described as like always crossing her arms and always looking at him, and that's basically the 2 indicators of her hating his guts, is the fact that she doesn't. It's not like she's a no nonsense teacher. She's not described in any way that would actually indicate that she hates him, but from his perspective, she does. And so one of the things is during recess, she's like, "Hey, you got to go bring these cream puffs," but they have a school kitchen that is like on the other side of the school and down 3 flights of stairs. So he used to go down and like tray by tray, grab 1 tray at a time and bring the cream puffs up to the room.
Yeah. And all he wants is to eat one of those delicious cream puffs, but he knows he's not going to ever get to have one. And then she says, "Okay, thank you for doing that. I need you now to clean the erasers. And if you do that, I'll give you a cream puff." He's like, well, but before he, as he was sort of, as the other kids were leaving and he was told he was going to have to do the cream puffs, they all threatened him. Like, if you eat one of those, if she gives you a cream puff, you're dead meat. I'm going to kill you if you get one of those cream puffs. He's like, there's no way she's going to give me a cream puff. Well, then, of course, clean the erasers and the reward will be a cream puff. And so his eyes get as big as saucers. He goes out. Unfortunately, the erasers. It's like 30 erasers, and they're completely covered in chalk.
She made like one of the other kids go, because he'd done such a good job cleaning like the erasers just from her classroom. She got somebody to go around and collect all the erasers from all the classrooms so that he has to do like 30 erasers this time. And he's like, see, she hates my guts. She's just finding more and more work for me to do. And so he's got to go outside.
Yeah.
And do that.
So he's banging away on these erasers, making these massive clouds of chalk that are hanging in the air, swirling in the winds, hitting the windows, going up one flight, going up the second story, all even up to the third story. These massive clouds of chalk hitting these closed windows. And of course, the cream puffs were set on the windowsill so as to not get too moist. And all the chalk dust settles on the massive boxes of cream puffs. And I love how he comes back up and he's like looking at them to see if they're okay. If it looks like powdered sugar, but it's chalk. And Mrs. Baker says, "Oh, you picking which one you want?" And he goes, "Not really."
Yeah.
It's such a great response.
She's like, "Go ahead and grab one." He's like, "Well, I don't really need one." And he takes it because at the open cream puffs that look like they got extra dusted, and he takes one, and it's so tragic. You know, he wants this reward, but he goes and he sees the sort of corner of rotten food behind the coat rack anyway, and just hucks his cream puff on the pile of the rest of the molding accoutrement for, number 466 or whatever it is.
Yeah. So of course the cream puffs get taken to their destination. People eat them and get horribly ill because of the chalk dust on everything. Yeah, the story grows about how awful these cream puffs were. He doesn't get in direct trouble, but his father's like, "Do you know anything about this cream puff thing?" He's like, "No, I don't know anything, Dad." And he has this moment where he's like, "I would have really had to lie to my dad. So a bigger lie would have come out of my mouth, but for the fact that his sister emerges from her bedroom with a flower painted on her cheek, because we are in 1967, and her dad freaks out that his daughter is a hippie, and she says, there's this. We've laid the foundation for this very dysfunctional family relationship where the father is very conservative and very traditional, and no nonsense, and kind of has certain feelings about the war in Vietnam and politics. And his daughter, of course, is this new generation who is against the war. Is a flower child. She wants to be a flower child.
Yeah, which we only let peace be the thing that grows within us and around us. And her father, you get the sense that he watches the news every night. Don't even talk to me till there's a commercial break. He's spitting talking points in a way that, is all too familiar these days.
Yeah. So things aren't good at home. Back at school, the kids are, the kids hear that at some point she says, "I'll give you another cream puff." And they're like, "Another cream puff? You got a cream puff? I told you if you got a cream puff, you were dead. You owe us cream puffs." And he's like, "They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. I need 3 weeks to come up with cream puffs." And they're like, "All right, 3 weeks. We need those cream puffs to your dead meat." He has to stay after school on Wednesday. Mrs. Baker has decided no more physical labor. We're going to read Shakespeare together. And they start with The Merchant of Venice.
No, they start with The Tempest, I thought.
No, Tempest is second. They start with The Merchant of Venice.
The thing that I like about it is that it seemed like this getting to know you period, where it's almost like I think it happens in the first chapter too, where Mrs. Baker gets like a note that her husband is being called into the Vietnam War. Is that the first chapter? So there's like it's right around here where there's like a get to know you. It seems like it's not that she doesn't know what to do with this kid. It's just that she doesn't really know exactly what his interests are. There's some amount of acclimation to this role of them going to be hanging out on Wednesdays. And this moment in the book feels like she's like, okay, I think I got a sense of who you kind of are. Let's try something a little bit different. And at the time, we don't quite know that, it's something different for her too. Just something to change it up.
Right. Yeah. So we first are introduced to some Merchant of Venice, and he's Halling, to his credit, is reading it, digesting it. The quality of mercy is not strained. He understands what that means, and perhaps my favorite thing about this entire novel is how the author manages to mirror these events in Halling's life with things that happen in each of the Shakespeare plays that he's reading at the time, and how he applies. I mean, it is exactly what you dream about from a, English comprehension level of, oh, hey, these old potentially stayed texts, oh, they actually do relate to my life. And this whole book as something to give to a 9-year-old today, this book, Wednesday Wars, it's such a wonderful argument, basically, for the fact that these things are worthwhile, that reading Shakespeare is worthwhile. And in the first chapter, he's read Treasure Island, and he relates a lot of the stuff to the plot points of Treasure Island. And so everything is sort of filtered through his media consumption, which in 1967 is the books that he's been reading, right? It's just great. I loved it so very much.
And I think that it's this book already that he's like, maybe it's not till he reads The Tempest, but he's like, I can't believe she's letting me read this. There's some crazy stuff in here. Like there's some really adult feeling themes and curses, and the way that he's enamored with the books feels like it feels like it's illegal that he's being allowed to read. She clearly has not read or understood these for her to have let me into this world. Yeah, right. Yeah, she doesn't even know what I'm reading. Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so then we have the moment where they've been reading the Merchant of Venice for a bit. They need to clean the cage of the two class rats, I guess. The class pet are these two rats, Sycorax and Caliban. So he says, how am I going to clean the cage when they're in the cage? She says, well, there's a smaller cage. You get the rats in the smaller cage, clean out the big cage, put them back. He's like, okay, I can do that. So he puts the two cages, doors back to back, so that the rats will, go from one to the other. And then she distracts him.
Well, they do, and he cleans it all out, and he comes back in. I think in the moment or something, she explains at some point how they got the rats during this scene, I think.
Yeah.
So the rats, why they have rats as class pets versus a normal class pet is because her husband found them and felt guilty about them, and so kept them and named them, and they turned into giant rats because they are. Sycorax and Caliban, I think, are Shakespearean names from The Merchant of Venice. So he's like, oh, I read this book.
No, Caliban's from The Tempest.
So they're from
Sycorax
The Tempest.
Is from.
So they're from
Sycorax?
The Tempest. So the rats have Shakespearean names. And so it's almost like, oh, read this Shakespeare, and then won't you like those rats more?
Oh, yeah.
But he goes and dumps out
The Tempest,
all the stuff.
yes.
They both are.
Sycorax is also from The Tempest, but not a character that is performed. I did The Tempest, by the way. I played Ferdinand in The Tempest. Wow. Thank you very much. Hold your applause. Sycorax, I don't believe, is a character in the play, but
interesting.
It's a character referenced in the play.
Sorry,
go ahead.
No worries. The cage, he brings it back in, and he's like, all right, time to get these rats to go back in the cage I just cleaned out. And I forget what it is that she does that distracts him. But in that moment, she asks him something about them or tells him something about the rats. And he's like, huh? And kind of nudges the cage just a little bit enough away from the other one that the rats have enough space to be, they're right in the middle of it, so that they kind of fall out of the center. And then sure enough, I mean, they're wild rodents that were trapped in this cage to pretend to be pets, they immediately scamper away and wreak havoc. Mrs. Baker, you can picture the classic jump on the desk, be afraid of things scampering over their feet. Hauling is like, the rat jumped down and ran over my foot. No, really, over my foot. The engagement of them, and they basically immediately peace out behind the radiator and into the walls, and they're gone.
And I love how at that point, the staff that's present are like, no one tells anyone about this. No, not a word is breathed. There's no one tells that there are rats loose because of us screwing up. And at one point, like the two custodians are talking about like searching for the rats, and they're like, "Oh, the kid's right there." And he's like, "Don't worry, that's the kid that let him go. He's in on it." It's like they're all like trying to make sure that no one finds out they screwed up by having these rats in the classroom in the first place. That's great. All right, so month 3. We are into November. This is when The Tempest starts. So he starts reading The Tempest with Mrs. Baker. He loves the curses, like the curses, particularly Caliban, who, if you know the play, is this, put upon beast of burden that Prospero mistreats, and he's constantly cursing at everyone on the island. So there's lots of juicy curse words that Halling latches onto and starts practicing saying at people, which is just
more
so
like
much fun.
Curse phrases.
Yeah.
And being able to identify like this curse is like a long and delightful insult, such that he does want to practice them. The idea of him being out in class and hearing something happening, and just like to himself under his breath being like, I mean, I'm not going to be able to remember one of the curses. The one that is like repeated the most
Ninny.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite. That's my son. My son and I have been saying pied ninny now that we both have this point of contact with each other. And the other one that he uses throughout the whole thing is
toads, beetles, bats.
Toads, beetles, bats. So great. So great.
But just the picturing like a kid, because maybe it's just I think of it so resonantly, because I was that kid who would be like under my breath saying things just to feel how they felt.
Yep.
In like the moment, like that experience of being like, I'm not saying this loud enough for anybody to hear me, but I did want to say it. And so I'm muttering it so quietly. I'm like, that's what a kid friggin' does.
Yeah. Well, it's also, again, this Trojan horse of this book, which is this delightful kid romp that's very funny and very charming, but embedded in it is a love of language and a celebration of language, of look, these curse words you can get away with. These Shakespeare was using these are look how fun it is, just the mouthfeel of these words. Like, I just love how it has all of that in it. And it shows the main character reveling in that.
Yeah.
So he has choir class. Which, he's evidently, he's 7th grade. His voice hasn't changed yet. He's a soprano, poor Halling is a soprano, has to stand with the other sopranos. So he's standing next to Meryl Lee, and they're talking, about various things. I love their banter back and forth. It's great, by the way. And then, of course, the choir teacher, I think, is that Miss Biggio? Mrs. Biggio? I'm not sure.
I think so.
Choir, says, Meryl Lee, I didn't ask you to flirt. And of course, the worst thing that anybody could possibly say in that moment. It's like, oh, I was not flirting.
I was insulting, and that is legally distinct. And the worst feeling, being accused of flirting with somebody just because you talk with them for 1 second while you're whispering in class. Nothing would bring a hotter rage to my
it is
cheeks.
The total teacher thing of like saying the thing that every adult knows is really happening, but no kid will admit, I love it.
Oh, so good. It's so
Yeah.
good. I also don't know. I think at some point there's like sort of a class breakdown of like the main players in Holling's life. Meryl Lee that we've mentioned.
Yeah.
There is Doug that we mentioned. There's also Mai T, who was
Yeah.
part of a Vietnamese relief program, and so she the whole time is sort of around. It's very sweet with everybody threatening over the cream puffs. She is part of
Yeah.
that too, but in not the precise amount of words, because she's still learning English as a part of like coming to this country as part of the relief program. And all throughout those other things, the main folks that
and Danny Hoff
and Danny. Yeah. Danny Hoff.
So there's like the 4 main kids that are in his orbit. So he has to stay after school. Obviously stayed on Wednesdays, and we're learning the Tempest. And Mrs. Baker gives him 150 question test about the Tempest, which he mostly gets wrong. And so all he studied were the curse words, right? And the test had nothing to do with the curse words. So she says, okay, read it again. You got to read the Tempest again. And my favorite line, he goes, nobody reads Shakespeare more than once.
Yeah. Everybody. She obviously isn't ready because she doesn't know that.
It's so great. So we find out here in November that his father's company, Hood and Associates, did get the contract for Baker's Sport Emporium's renovation, beating out his rival, the Kowalski and Associates, which is Meryl Lee's dad's company. And so he's, celebrating he and his wife, his mom and dad are dancing through I got the contract. Very excited. Everything is happy in the household because dad's career is doing what he wants. And I was actually pretty surprised at this moment because I thought we were going to have that be persistent throughout for a much longer period of like, I got to be nice because, to Mrs. Baker, I got to be on my best behavior because dad's holding it over my head. And the fact that gets wrapped up so early in the 3rd chapter, I was very surprised. And I think it's to the book's credit. Like, it has more interesting things to do here.
Yeah.
So we have this situation where he needs to get cream puffs because the kids are going to kill him. He's got this 3-week deadline. He's trying to cobble together money to do it. He asks for a advance on his allowance. His dad scoffs at that notion. So he goes down. It's a little confusing because we have Mrs. Baker and then we have an actual baker. So he goes to the baker, asks for cream puffs, and it's this amazing moment, which is I love, which is he says to the guy, I need these, these cream puffs. And the guy says, well, this is how much it costs. He's like, I don't have that. He's like, well,
he needs a certain number of cream puffs because everybody needs something. So he can afford some amount of it. He goes, but I need double that. He's like, great. Then you need double the money. Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't have that. He's like, well, is there some way I could, trade you things? Like, well, what I need is a kid who knows Shakespeare.
Well, because he's like, I can clean, I can do dishes, I can do whatever. Yeah. He's like, you think that I would pay you to do something that these hands are totally good for? I don't need a kid to do this. I don't need a kid to sweep. I don't need a kid to prepare things for me. I need some kind of kid who can do Shakespeare, which is like
in the context of reading the book, you're like that is fantastical because we just found out this kid is kind of getting into Shakespeare. And then he says, no, he really said that. Those words really came out of his mouth.
And it's the way that Holling tells that story. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Please. When he'll say something and frequently he goes, really? No, really. It's like it's like the difference between Mrs. Baker hates my guts. Yeah, and the rat ran over my foot. No, really, it ran over my foot.
Right.
It's like you can tell.
It's not kid logic. It's not. I'm not exaggerating for effect here. That really happened. Yeah. Can you believe it? And I could not believe it. Right. It just felt so wildly improbable that this guy. And it's just the setup is so great. It reminded me of Malazan a lot of those times when you're in someone's POV and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. And then you get the context later and you're like, oh, it's so brilliant. And that's what happens here because we find out that the baker also puts on community theater and is literally looking for a kid to play Ariel in The Tempest, which is amazing and hilarious and serendipitous, but it's just so great. And he's like, well, I actually do know Shakespeare. And he's like, yeah, right, kid. And he goes, no, I do. He's like, well, say some Shakespeare. And he spouts off some line. And the guy's like, huh, I will give you
and then he
cream puffs.
Recites it with him for a little bit. Yeah.
It's so great. It's so great. And he, so he says, here, have the cream puffs. You get the cream puffs, but you got to show up and do this thing. So he brings the cream puffs in to class. He's got the cream puffs for the kids. Teacher says, okay, well, you can't have them until after lunch or after recess or whatever it is.
Yeah, lunch at recess is like the same. Yeah.
So everybody leaves. He's certain Mrs. Baker's going to steal one. She's not. They come back, and of course, Sycorax and Caliban have found the cream puffs.
The giant rats that everybody was pretending didn't get loose in the walls. I have a cream puffs feast and have ruined the cream puffs for everybody. And of course, it's a moment where people aren't like, oh my gosh, these rats are here and they ruined everything. All the kids still turn back to Holling and be like, you got to get us more cream puffs or you're still dead.
You're not off the hook, buddy. You're
only 1 week this time. 1 week or you're dead meat.
You're dead meat.
Yeah.
So, and then, I think this is the first moment where I cried, and I cried many times in this book. Again, hey, common theme with the book club, evidently, is that I have turned into a complete emotional wreck in my old age. But especially with a book that my son suggested I read, I'm just like, I was this emotional mess through the whole thing. But this is the first moment where I cried, where Mrs. Baker buys more cream puffs for him.
Well, yeah. Well,
and he says, well, I guess the quality of mercy is not strained. Or she says that to him. Quality of mercy is not strained.
Because the kids say you only have a week to get more cream puffs. He goes and he scrounges whatever pennies he can. And I think he only buys like 3 or something like that. And something happens where they're like, that's not enough. And that that's it for you. And on the day that like the cream puffs are due, she swaps them out. Because he does have a week more of being haunted by it. She doesn't immediately go buy the cream puffs the same day the rats killed them all. There's like a week of that building dread that you can sense in Holling where he's like, I'm dead. And it's one of those things that he's like, I'm dead meat. It's not clear what that means. I don't think there's any real consequence. It's
but
the
a kid
kid's
doesn't
logic.
know either. Yeah.
But he still is like doing his best because he's genuinely fearful and wants to make sure he has the correct cream puffs for this offering and knowing that it's not going to be enough. And then Mrs. Baker saving the day on his behalf, saying nothing about it. And then leveraging that Shakespeare line. It's beautiful. And
Beautiful.
like, it's just that moment of like feeling that dread and being like, oh, that's so tough to be a kid. But thinking about what the feeling would be like, what a hero you would feel like, how the triumph of having succeeded this thing after like now.
An impossible quest. Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Beautiful. And we also have, throughout the novel, we have, as you, I think, so brilliantly pointed out earlier, this kid drama, these kid stakes, this kid world layered on top of the real world things that are happening in 1967, the real chaos that's happening in America in 1967. And I don't know how much of that landed on my son as he was reading it, but it certainly, resonated for me, especially with how chaotic our world is today. And you get like, oh man, yes, my son is living that reality where there's these news stories that come up that are just absolutely appalling, and America is being torn apart, and all these things. The parallels were stark.
Yeah.
We find out here Mrs. Biggio gets a telegram, finds out her husband has been killed in action in Vietnam. And she basically has a breakdown. And there's this moment where we have my T, who is Vietnamese and a student, getting
refugee,
right? Getting ridiculed and go home Viet Cong. I scrawled what I can't remember where it was scrawled, but
the way that it's like the glazed over, like it is a heavy moment that it's still through Holling's perspective, where he's like, the year continues. Doug's brother did some kind of shenanigans. Meryl Lee did blah, blah, blah in this thing. Go home Viet Cong is scrawled on my T's, cubby. The days continue. It's like glazed over. Like, these are the things that are happening all the time. Kids doing kids things, and adults and people being horribly racist at a refugee child at the school.
Yeah. And she, he notes that my T, breaks down crying at the kids ridiculing her, and the teacher taking part in it or condoning it. And he says, of course, I guess the quality of mercy is strained.
Yeah.
Oh, crushed me.
Was that wasn't the one in the cafeteria? That's later.
I think that was the one in the cafeteria.
So, so the ridicule that's happening is there, all these news stories coming out, especially like the war is happening.
Yeah.
But because then it like hits somebody so close to all of them, one of these teachers.
Yeah.
It's the chef, it's the cook for the kitchen. So they've like made something that was not very appealing to eat on the one day.
Right.
And people are like, oh, my tea, is that even actually what you eat?
I think that does come later, but yes, you can talk about it now. But yeah,
I'll wait. But there's like, but I think that's the time that I think my tea cried. And that's broke.
Oh, maybe so. But yeah, so that happens actually in the next chapter in December, but it happens later. So we'll get to it shortly, but yes. Yeah. But the quality of mercy is strained, like broke me. And this book broke me at so many points. So December, he starts rehearsals for Ariel to play Ariel in The Tempest, and finds out what his costume is going to be.
Because Ariel, is it's Ariel the fairy.
Right. Ariel is a fairy, is Prospero's fairy, right? Of course, any young boy in 1967, worst thing you could possibly be labeled as. Mm-hmm. On top of the fact that he has to wear bright yellow tights with feathers. And I love the constant, like, I'm not going to tell you where the feathers are. The feathers are, here's where the feathers, and eventually we find out it's in the butt. It's on the butt. It's on the butt. The feathers on the butt.
It's so cute. I'm like, how that's written a kid not wanting to talk like that. I certainly, like, again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I wasn't allowed to say butt growing up. That was like a bad word, was to say butt specifically. Right. And so even the fact that he's like, there's feathers covering, I'll let you guess where. And then like a building up of like, I think he again tries to like go and get allies again, goes to mom about the tights, goes to dad about goes to his sister about the tights, being like, they're making me wear these yellow tights. And she's like, don't ever look at me or talk to me, basically.
As long as it doesn't get
nobody
back
knows,
to me. Yeah,
or my brother, like, keep your distance. I don't want any word of your tights being any part of my life. No allies once again. And then the building of frustration of no allies talking about the feathers and then breaking down and being, well, I guess I better just say it. I will just say it. They're on the butt, okay? The butt is covered with the feathers. Is like a little internal, I'm not going to hide how I feel about this. And I don't like it. It's so cute. It's so cute.
I also love how he's like, well, there's no reason that anyone would ever find out. Like, he's talking to his sister, and he's like, there's no one's going to, from school, there's no way anybody would ever find out that I'm even doing this. She's like, well, they better not. It better not get to the high school, which is where I go, because I will end you, And he's like, it's okay. No one will find out. There's no ways they'll ever know.
And she's like, it better not get to the high school, because then you have to go to that high school, and good luck.
Right. Yeah. So we go back to school, and there's a huge, amazing thing that happens. Mickey Mantle from the New York Yankees is coming to Baker's Sport Emporium. They have worked it out. He's going to come. He's going to be swinging bats and signing baseballs. The kids are overjoyed. Of course, Meryl Lee and my Tia have no idea who this person is. But all the boys are freaking out because Mickey Mantle is coming. Mickey Mantle and, Mrs. Baker is like, yes, we can all come. He's going to be there at this specific time. But I have a second announcement, and that is one of your classmates is doing The Tempest, and we will all be able to go. And in fact, it's right before the Mickey Mantle signing, so we can all go there and then go right to Mickey Mantle. And of course, that's the end of Holling's life.
At the end of Holling's life, inviting everybody. And it's like, there's definitely going to be time for both. And Holling is like, that's a long play. I don't think there's going to be time for both, but I guess we'll see.
Actually, I think they're only doing like scene. It's like a night of scenes from Shakespeare. It's
he mentioned something about the length being like feeling
but
like
he's trying
it's
to
going to be
dissuade,
too long.
right?
Yeah, but then it's also no matter what, he's still not convinced people are going to show up, so he's not too panicky right now.
That's right. So he gets there. He's poking his eye hole, looking out at the audience. He sees a couple of his teachers there. Mrs. Baker's there. He sees, it's not too bad. I don't see anybody, but he can't quite see the first row.
The Hupfners are there. But it's there. Yeah.
Danny's cool. He's not going to be, he's not going to meet him up. So he's fine. Okay. Phew. No problem. But he can't quite see the front row. So of course, goes out there, gives it his all, crushes it as Ariel.
He's good at it. Like that's the part that I think is really beautiful. It's not like it gives it his all and he's doing a Napoleon Dynamite where people are charmed by it, but it's not like amazing. It is. He's giving it his all and he's into Shakespeare. He's good with the language and he is good at performing. So he's giving a compelling performance.
And this is the second part where I was just bawling my eyes out, reading in my car as I waited for my son to finish his piano lesson. Mm-hmm. I'm reading in my car and just bawling my eyes out. He gets a standing ovation for performing Ariel. And he looks out and the front row is all the kids and they're also applauding and they really genuinely think he did a good job.
They're all crying because of the work that he did because he was able to sell this performance the way that he did. Again, it is that feeling of triumph, of feeling that being able to feel his tension, his anxieties, and then the way that he overcomes that to do something great. It's great.
But you know who's not there? Mom and Dad. Just heart-wrenching. Because Bing Crosby's holiday special's on. They don't want to miss the Bing Crosby on
the one that's
TV.
on every year. And that's their routine. They're going to do it. They're not going to miss Bing. And so his parents aren't there, but he rushes off stage. He goes to try and change in the changing room so that he can get his jeans back on over his feathery butt and get over the sporting emporium in time. The changing room's locked. This is so important to him. He doesn't care. He grabs another costume cape. So he's in his yellow tights, a blue cape, runs outside. It's cold outside. And he's waiting on the corner and his parents never show up.
So what does he do? He has to go to the bus. He doesn't have enough money to get on the bus to go get, the bus driver's like, oh yeah, you could probably make it if you had 30 cents. He's like, I don't have it. There's no pockets in the tights,
Mm-hmm.
And then finally he talks the bus driver into letting him, ride because it's such a big deal. And the bus driver's like, don't you want a baseball for Mickey Mantle to sign? And he's like, the baseball is locked in the baseball I brought is locked in the costume room with my clothes. Mm-hmm. And of course the bus driver has a bunch of baseballs that have been left on the bus, gives him this pristine, beautiful white baseball. And he's like, boy, you sure are going to have to rely on the kindness of strangers a lot, kid. Mm-hmm. Which is great. So you feel like, despite all the odds, he's going to get there. He gets to Mickey Mantle. He's in his weird blue cape with his yellow tights, waits in line to have his ball signed by Mickey Mantle.
This is one of the
Mantle's
things.
A jerk.
This is one of the times I got choked up. He's done all this work. It is this moment of great triumph getting there. Mickey Mantle takes a look at him and is like, this is what you're wearing to come see me, basically. And refuses to sign his baseball because he's in like his theater clothes.
Yeah.
Period. Just won't. It takes the ball and is like, no, thanks. Puts it on the table. It rolls off. And the other kids who had gotten in the cars with their parents and drove over in time are also there with their signed baseballs that they just got from Mickey Mantle. And the solidarity of the kids saying, actually, no thanks, man. And they leave.
Danny Hupfer puts his baseball that's already been signed. I don't actually want this. And guess what? You're a pied ninny.
The solidarity of those kids seeing this adult, this idol, and being greater than in spirit, greater than in their hearts and their compassion for hauling.
Beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Beautiful. So then this is the next up, we have the moment in the lunch line. Mrs. Biggio is crying in the lunch line.
Mrs. Biggio, did we mention why she's crying? I think we did.
Isn't it that
her husband died in the war?
Yes, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
we got note last month that her husband died. She's been a wreck, right? And she's crying in the lunch line. And I don't know if you want to say more about that.
Yeah, she's crying in the lunch line, and she has not done a great job of like coming up with like a beautiful dish for them. It's like, they called it like whatever surprise, that like sort of classic cafeteria slop that you can picture. But even still, Mrs. Biggio is there, and the other kids are looking at my tea, and they're like, shouldn't you be one? I forget exactly what they're saying. They're like, yeah, this might be like a tuna surprise, but I thought that you don't eat stuff like this. You only eat like, what I can't remember what they call it out.
They're saying she should be eating the rats, right?
Oh yeah,
she should be.
Yeah, she should be eating the rats. The fact that she even gets to eat it all instead of like Americans that are abroad that probably aren't eating anything. Yeah. They're like putting the weight of the war on this child refugee's shoulders in the cafeteria. Yeah. One of the, I think this is one of the moments where one of the 8th graders is saying something particularly heinous. And Danny, I think again, comes to the rescue and punches the kid in the face. Yeah. And, knocks his lights out. You see, this is the 7th graders. They're banding together, and their friendship and their tightness and their willingness to be a shield for each other in the face of people being utterly cruel to them, like extreme bullying from adults and kids alike, like from all sides, is really lovely. Danny gets, I think, suspended for 4 days or something for punching that kid in the face. But it gives my tea something to cling to. And then, of course, the Mrs. Baker's class and the turn that they have the next day of being like, let's get informed now. These jokes coming in on my tea. She learns a classic Vietnamese dish that is like beautifully fried bananas that are covered in nuts and some kind of caramel dish. And she gets my tea to teach them how to say the name of the dish, and they eat actual Vietnamese dessert in the class the next day to be like, actually, this is what they eat. This is, you learn about the world, learn about other cultures, and just sort of leading by example and not necessarily making a big show of it. But it is such a poignant lesson in the most bitter pain into the sweetest remedy of just education and compassion and togetherness. It is so delicate through the book because it's all from Holling's perspective. It's so delicate. It's not heavy to like read the words, but it just you feel the impact like a punch in your heart, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. And this comes from a tradition of this kind of genre of stuff from a kid's perspective, like I said, The Sandlot or Goonies or, I think there's numerous examples of the parents, the adult, any adult figure is really not going to understand our plight, the life and death struggles that we're going through, they can't understand and relate to it. We only have ourselves. We only have us. We have to step up. And I think I love that refrain, and that the kids do the right thing. Like you're going to find these pockets of kids that are going to be your people. And that's really what it is about for Halling. Like, his parents are useless. Mrs. Baker's great, and some of the other teachers, but they have to find it in themselves. All right. So Mrs. Baker, then there's this beautiful moment too, where she calls the boys to the room, gives them mitts. She's evidently heard what happened with Mickey Mantle, and she has organized two other Yankees, Joe Pepitone and Horace Clark, to literally play catch with them.
Yeah, they tee it up so that, like, it seems like they're getting scolded. They're being asked to stay behind in class. So Holling's going to be there, but she arranged for the other two kids to not have to go to their normal Wednesday situations. And it seems like, we're all in trouble. But then it is like a greater reward. Two arguably even greater Yankee legends there, and not just a ball signing, but like, what do they say? Shagging balls, and they'd switch who's out, like playing catch versus trying to hit versus trying to pitch, and like a whole afternoon of activities with these two Yankees that ends with being gifted opening night tickets to the next season.
Opening night. Yeah. Amazing. So January, his picture is in the newspaper at playing Ariel, leaping this amazing, beautiful picture. It's, local kid makes good story, but of course it's a nightmare. And it turns out that Doug Switek's brother like acquires many copies of this, cuts it out, literally paints it yellow, paints the each one of them, the tights,
with oil
in the picture
paint.
yellow. Yeah. And posts them everywhere, post them in the high school, post them at every single place they could possibly be. It's the worst thing that could possibly happen. Golden tights with feathers on the butt.
There's the way that Halling describes, he's like, you can't possibly describe the feeling of walking into the school and everybody turning to grin at you, but it's not because they're happy to see you.
It's so good. And
so
then, of course,
good.
that comes back later, which is so brilliant. So he is absolutely, mortified. There's a snowstorm. The power goes out, but they're going to do this standardized test. That was today. It was going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, their
no power outage is
principal
going to stop it.
Their principal is sort of described as not like really a good dude. He was in on like the hiding the rat situation. He said that, Halling describes him as like a dictator coming through. Yeah. It doesn't matter how much snow, how much ice is on the streets. We're doing these tests, period. Be there or you're in trubs.
Yeah. So, they're in the middle of the standardized test. It's freezing. It's January in New York. It's freezing, or New Jersey, I guess they are. So he's in thermals. He's all, weighted down. And of course the power comes back on, things start heating up, and he just starts sweating his butt off in the, in the thermals. It's awful, but they finish the standardized test. He leaves. What he describes as the penitentiary crew, which is Doug Switek's brother, friends. The penitentiary crew.
They're all like smoking in the bathroom.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. He threw a snowball as revenge. He got away with it. Doug Switek's brother.
Oh yeah.
He didn't even see him. He got away, and he's like, sweet revenge. I threw a snowball. Well, he's sweating in the thermals. He leaves the school, and of course, the entire penitentiary crew now has yellow snowballs to throw at him. She's like, "Ugh."
He's like,
but right
at least
before they do,
he's like, I think it was like the street light was making them yellow. I think, I hope.
Yeah. Right before they throw them, though, the bus careens out of control. It hits some ice and careens out of control, heading right to his sister. He leaps and saves her life, knocks her out of the way. But he gets hit. He gets hit in the butt, landing in a snowbank, and he has to go. They save him. There's this great moment where the teachers, they call the ambulance. The ambulance comes and they're like, "I assume you're his father? Like, no, I'm his principal. Oh, you're his mother. No, I'm his teacher. And then we suggest you give him an X-ray. And like, oh, thank you for your medical opinion.
I loved that. It's like Holling it like through the book will comment on like that's like one of those funny teacher's jokes, which are not funny. It's like that is the nurse's version of a teacher's joke, which is worse than a teacher's joke.
Yeah.
But like because it's very mean.
So good. All right, so I'm gonna try to move a little quicker because
we're way over.
Yeah,
but
I know we're already way over.
But
we're
fine.
Like halfway through the book. So he becomes a local hero, and they post his picture in the paper again, saving the sister. Of course, the worst thing you want in the world. My first job was writing for the newspaper, and my little picture was in the paper every Saturday when I was 14. Worst thing that could happen. It's like an advertisement to get your butt kicked. It's not great.
But the whole scene is just because I think this is like a really poignant moment in the book. It's a lot of like serendipitous kind of lineups of like, well, his sister wouldn't normally be there, but because of the standardized test, she happened to be there. The mirror of him saving her and then getting caught by the bus and sort of flung because he pushed her out of the way. The image of the paper is like a reflection of him as Ariel because Ariel was flying through the air as the fairy and now he was flying through the air saving his sister. And then the sort of echo of walking into the school, having everybody known that he really did save his sister's life. And it has that same mirror of a sentence of you ever walk into a place and everybody looks at you and they're grinning because they are happy to see you. And his sister's appreciation being like, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you saved my life. There's like just a real bonding moment with him and his community and his sister specifically. It's lovely.
So we're in February. We have the moment of the ceiling collapsing with the rats having like put so much stuff in the ceiling that it literally like it collapses on everybody, gets on his clothes. Hilarious. We have the family going to the Kiwanis Club because his dad is getting the award for, the Chamber of Commerce, like things that his dad cares about. They have to get dressed up. They put flowers on their lapel. His sister challenges him to throw away his and throw it in the toilet.
They start conspiring more as like a duo. She still like throws barbs his way where he's like, I guess saving somebody's life doesn't stop somebody from being your older sister.
So great. And now because it's February, because it's the month of romance, of course, he and Mrs. Baker are discussing Romeo and Juliet. And he asks Marilee out on a date, just sort of spur of the moment, inspired by Romeo and Juliet. But he doesn't have any money to take her and everything. He tries to ask his parents what he should do. They have terrible advice. He asks his sister what he should do. She's like, just go buy a Coke.
And then some people are like, if you just go buy a Coke, she's going to think you're a cheapskate. So you can't be doing that.
Go to Woolworths. It's like, no. Woolworths, you're a cheapskate. So Mrs. Baker kind of gets the vibe that he's asked Marilee out, and she gives him tickets to the production of Romeo and Juliet that's being done by the same players that he did Ariel with.
I don't think Mrs. Baker does. I think he goes down. She goes and sends him on another errand to the kitchen. And when he goes down there to pick up whatever food he has to bring up as part of his like Wednesday chores, it's Mrs. Biggio that is like, I'm not going to use this. I had season's tickets. I don't have anyone to go with anymore. Right. So I'm not going. So she gives him the tickets to take Marilee.
And of course, Marilee loves it. They have this wonderful time. She's impressed that he knows things. They go afterward to like the soda jerk. They're having Cokes at the soda jerk. It's very 1967, and they're like doing scenes from Romeo and Juliet. It's just delight. I mean, my dream. I played Romeo twice. I never met a girl that would do that with me. Anyway, it would have been great.
But and Hollings takes even of Romeo and Juliet. It's the whole sort of arc is around that. I love that they're framed around these Shakespearean things. But the first time he reads it, he's like, it's pretty dumb. That would never happen. Right. Why would they do this? She took a potion that almost kills her. And then he took a potion that really did kill. How would you take a potion that almost kills somebody and not like tell them that it's so stupid? And I appreciate that, like not thinking deeply about it or what the deeper meanings are. Well, it's very well done.
Yes. And during their little date, she, of course, is interested in him, and they talk about the fact that their dads are both designing pitches for the school, and he draws his dad's design. Of course, I was like, oh, I know where this is headed. And
because through the chapter, his dad is constantly trying to be seated as like the Chamber of Commerce guy, and the way to do that is like getting all this work. He thinks of like doing all these things,
that's right.
And he knows that he's gonna to give his company to Hulling someday. So you have to come to dad's meetings to see blah, 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 blah. And there's this constant thread of like, you're going to be what I tell you to be when you grow up is the underlying feeling behind all the conversations around architects and Hulling and his dad.
But I also love how like he's studying Romeo and Juliet. The two are doing the Romeo and Juliet scene literally on a date, which is what Romeo and Juliet do. And guess what? They are from two houses, both alike in dignity, right? That are competing, that are rivals, right? The Kowalskis and the Hoods are, it's beautiful, beautiful symmetry with all of it. I admire how he constantly the plays, the templates from Shakespeare are layered onto his reality throughout it. It's just excellent. In fact, I'll say right here, I kept waiting. I was like, we're definitely getting to Lear. We're definitely getting to Dad and the daughter and Lear, right? And we never do. And I was very surprised that didn't. I thought that was going to be the final one is studying Lear, and oh my gosh, that's my dad and my sister. Didn't happen. I was very surprised. But in this moment, in February, he realizes he asks the question, is my dad Shylock? Has he become the thing that they made him into? All these wonderful, very deep, introspective. It's a beautifully written book. So March, we're going to do Shakespeare because of the Ides of March. The rats are still in the ceiling. This is when he starts doing track because, and in fact, Mrs. Baker gives him a month off from doing Shakespeare to do track. Meanwhile, his sister wants to go to work for Bobby Kennedy, who's running for president. And Mrs. Baker finds out he's doing track, and she tries to help his form, like run like Jesse Owens.
Yeah, she saw him at some track day somewhere.
Yeah,
I forget if it was. Oh yeah, no, it wasn't that yet. But she saw him, and she's like, "No, you gotta do better. Here's these tips. You gotta keep your arms loose. She like gives him like form directions, and he's you're an English teacher. What do you even know?"
It turns out she medaled in the Olympics.
Yeah, silver medal Olympian. Amazing.
Incredible. And she's like, well, he's like, well, okay, if you're going to coach me, I want to coach you on being a teacher. And she's like, all right, coach me on being a teacher. He's like, first, don't cross your arms.
Because like the superintendents or somebody are coming to tour the school, and they're going to come by the class and, make sure everything's on the up and up.
Dude. That whole sequence when they come in and they're completely ignoring him and literally like patting him on the head and just dismissing him out of hand, not treating him like a human being at all.
Not listening to any like his answers. They ask him a question and he answers them poignantly, and they're like, "That's nice, Sonny."
Yeah, not even register, and then literally asking the same question again to the teacher, even though he has answered it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, this kid knows Shakespeare," and she's like, "Recite something for them," and he like knocks it out of the park. And then because they had, he had told her, maybe you should use instead of when somebody does something good, maybe you should use a code word. You should say azalea when something is good and chrysanthemum when something is excellent. And she just turns to him and goes, azalea. And I bawling again reading this book.
But I also just love that she's like, or maybe I'll just like commend them publicly in a normal way.
She's like, I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I'll just be normal. But in that moment where like the superintendents or whoever they are being so careless in Holling's internal monologue, is like, they want me to recite Shakespeare. Let me think of every curse that I have learned. And then he's like, no, I'll do a good one. And he recites something beautifully in the way that he is capable of doing. And even just the power of him doing that in the face of this, again, little adversity makes her just think azalea, something more poetic than saying great job. And then she
But
turns
it's a coder because they're standing right there and she can say it to him and they have this little connection. It's just so perfect.
Yeah. But then she turns to the board and almost like seeing like her own recognition of it is like, okay, we're going to do like sentence structure now. And she uses the Shakespearean insults that she and Holling are sort of like mind melding on of like, I forget what the insult is, but it's basically like these blockheaded idiots is like the phrase on the board. She's like, let's diagram this sentence together. And it just sort of moves on from there. It's very, there's so many details in this book. It moves quick. It's like hard, obviously because we're talking about it for so long, but it's hard to want to brush over them because there's so many. If you're still, you gotta read it. You gotta read it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Again, it reminds me also from the very first chapter, another way that he knew that she hated him is that she asks each of the kids to diagram a sentence. And it's one of those ones like Kid Logic where they all diagram relatively normal sentences. One of the dumber kids have to diagram like 3-word sentences. And then he gets this like completely impenetrable sentence. Just amazing.
But it's also one of those things that I think indicates that Holling has a higher aptitude. It's like he's being challenged more because he's capable of that. And rather than lowering the bar so he doesn't have to try and he'll be bored, he's like consistently challenged by her. And he perceives
but it's also
it as
like
hating her.
Is that how it felt to him? Is that the sentence felt to him?
Yeah.
Or is that the actual sentence she gave him? And they walks that line. And that's why when he goes like, no, that really happened is like, it's because you get the sense he's doing a little bit of kid exaggeration on stuff. Yeah, it's great. Anyway, so they have a track test. The rats get out. Everybody's being chased by the rats. And Holling sets the record for the fastest time because he's trying to escape the rats and makes the varsity team. Mm-hmm. This is the moment where everyone says that my tea eats rats and Danny punches the bully.
Sorry.
I loved this because it's such a perfect contrast to Holling's family where Danny punches the bully, gets suspended, and his parents take him to DC because they're so proud of him.
Yes. So good.
I know. Just like, because you get the sense that Danny's family is really great. You know, they showed up to the play. They're all there. They're all cheering on later on at the track meet. It's like he has a really wonderful family and Holling doesn't. Mm-hmm. And this is where the teachers make the fried bananas, and I bawled again.
Yeah,
they made the fried bananas.
All
right, so April, we find out that the principal has been replaced. Sidman is the new principal. That dictator has been moved out. And we find out that the fallout of, I think we skipped over a whole bunch of other really cool things, but we're getting so long, I'm worried.
I know.
But we find out that, because I forgot during the date to talk about how he thinks that Meryl Lee stole the information and screwed over Dad.
They talked about on the date. They're sort of
the
like
details.
The details of the thing where they were just like, yeah, my dad can't stop talking about it. My dad can't stop talking about it. And they really are sort of commiserating about their architect dads who are competing against each other all the time. And then Holling, she's like, my dad's going for a classical thing, of course. Like that's all he talks about is classical pillars, blah, blah, blah. And Holling's like, oh my God, my dad's, no, it's all modern, blah, 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 and draws like a little sketch of what it is. And because, he has some amount of like natural talent, like again, that's why I think the sentence shows that he has like this natural inclination. He's clearly creative. He's this great performer. He draws like a beautiful sketch that is the drawing of what his dad's thing looks like. And Meryl takes it because she thinks it's a good drawing and gives it to her dad, who then uses that information in this pitch meeting for which architect is going to take it. And the what's on the line is that if Hood and Associates gets they're going to put the other company out of business.
Yeah. So that has
not
all
the
happened.
other way around. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we find out that Kowalski, is exactly what happened. Kowalski pulls out of the bid. Meryl Lee is going to have to move.
Well, Kowalski first uses the intel that Meryl gives him, changes his pitch, wins the pitch, And then Halling and Meryl are very upset at each other because he's like, my dad's super pissed at me because he thinks I've done something obviously because of you. And Meryl is at school with sunglasses on because she has clearly been crying so much every night.
Yeah.
And then it is another difference in like showing what their families are like, where Halling's dad is like, it's a blood sport. Everything is like eye for an eye.
Zero-sum game. Yeah.
You know, Meryl's dad is like trying to survive, just trying to scrape by, and made a cutthroat decision to do that, but can't stand by it, pulls out of the bid. And because of that, Meryl's going to move away because they don't have any business. They don't have any money. They cannot afford to stay in the city anymore.
His dad is like, yeah, serves him right. Yeah, that kind of callous lack of compassion, frankly.
And then it's mapped back to Romeo and Juliet in like the entire time Halling's understanding of why these kids might act this way. And through Meryl realizes that you could have love for your family and you can have love for someone, and those things, you can feel both of those things. And that doesn't mean they resonate with each other all the time. It's the details, yeah.
We find out here in April, of course, that Martin Luther King is shot. This is played on the backdrop of this story as well. This is when baseball opening day is going to happen. He's so excited. His dad's going to pick him up. They're going to go. Of course, dad doesn't show. So Mrs. Baker agrees to take him. And there's this wonderful scene where she's driving, 45 in a 60, like just being safe, no need to rush, He's like, the baseball game is starting. I just felt that in my bones,
Yeah.
So good.
And then the baseball game is so beautiful. The baseball players recognize the kids. They look out for them, bring them on the field. They get to be in Yankee Stadium and run around. And then even the description is like being there. The sun is setting. You can just picture the golden hour in an empty stadium with your icons and heroes. Like, again, such extreme moments of extreme triumph laced with like this tragic feeling of like what the home life is like, what other crazy, horrible things are happening in the world. It's a beautifully balanced book of highs and lows.
And the baseball players recognize Mrs. Baker as being a silver medalist from the Olympics.
Yeah.
And are like, whoa, wow, we want to take our picture with you. Like, you're cool. And they, in passing, mention the fact that Yankee Stadium is up for a redesign. And she's like, oh, really? Who's in charge of that? Can I go talk to him? And, they leave, and Mrs. Baker stays around to talk to the head honcho.
Mrs. Baker got connections. Mrs. Baker
got game,
moving and shaking. And I just love that Halling's like, I'd have never heard Miss Baker get called dame so many times, and they keep calling her the legs. It's like the sort of realizing that adults have full lives, and even when she like pulled out her Olympian, she's like, you think I've lived behind this desk forever? You think I was always a teacher? Right. And Halling was like, kind of like, I literally thought you were born there. So I guess not.
Yeah. We find out Halling's sister wants to go to Columbia. Dad is like, no daughter of mine's going to Columbia. They're protesting the war. Like, no, they don't even, just wonderful, cultural, placing that in that moment in time. But of course, really resonant for today as well.
Yeah. And it is, again, that you'll be what I tell you to be. You're going to stay here. You're going to be an assistant secretary at my company. And
that's all you're up for.
That's your future, period.
You do not need college for that.
Yeah.
And then we have the track meet. And first up is the JV. Like, Halling, because he was chased by rats, made the varsity team. But Danny Hopfer is on the JV team, so they're all to cheer on the JVs who run first.
Junior varsity, I think. If is that what that means?
JV, yeah.
Well, at least in my school, I don't know if varsity and junior varsity were terms that I had. So anybody out there is JV,
really? It's an American
varsity
thing, I think.
Yeah,
it's very American.
Yeah,
maybe not in Canada, but yeah, JV. It's tier down from the top tier, but Danny's a 7th grader. There's some 8th graders in JV that didn't make the varsity team, even though they felt like they should. And so when Danny starts running a little faster than those 8th graders, they ambush him. They run behind the trees at one point. And when they come out, Danny is no longer in the lead. He's far behind, and he comes out with bloody knees. And all the Hopfers are cheering, and all the, Halling and Mighty and Meryl Lee they're all cheering, but they see that Danny got basically ambushed by the 8th graders and beat up, pushed to the ground.
And it's like, again,
by the way, this was the scene my son noted to me as his favorite scene.
And Danny, I mean, again, the triumph and the pain. Danny's like mugging for people as they're like walking by, like, I'm so happy, I'm winning. Like, he's being just like a charming kid, excited about being there, excited about doing a good job. And then the physical violence and bullying of the other kids knocking him to the ground. And, it's behind the tree, so you don't know what happened. You just know that his knees are bloodied now and he's not allowed to win.
Yeah. And he stays behind them. His family still is cheering for him, still giving him that warmth and support that is completely missing from Holling's life. Then it's time for the varsity to go, of which Holling is the 7th grader who is out of place. He knows immediately, I cannot win this race. There's no way I'm going to let the 8th graders be ahead of me. He's running. He turns the corner and there's Mrs. Baker, and she says, "Pass those boys." Tears from me again, as is usual.
Yeah.
He runs, even farther than he needed to just to get around them because they've kind of blocked the way. He wins the race. It comes in, and then Meryl Lee is there, and he said she leans in, and he says, "Well, I don't have to tell you everything."
Everybody in their little friend group getting to be sort of like the star, and him being able to see Danny having stood up for my tea. Danny and the Doug putting their balls back on the table. I'm not taking those things. Like the
more ways than one.
Their like tight knittedness and giving him the courage to do what he needs to do here. Danny being like, beat them, please beat them. And Miss Baker giving like not only the permission, but the command of like, you pass those guys right now. This is not pass those boys.
The thing that's so emotional to me is that she knows he can. She knows it. And she's there to give him permission to be excellent.
Ugh.
Kills me. There's that thing about being a kid that is like, it just gets me. It gets me. And the fact that my kid read this, like at that age, like it's just very powerful for me. And I apologize for being a mopey pant. I mean, this is how I am, I guess. This is what I am now these days. Okay, 2 more chapters. Super long. May is Atomic Bomb Awareness Month, which is, my God, bleak as all get out. They're still bullying him from having won the track meet. And we find his dad finds out, he had his dad finds out that the Kowalskis get the winning bid for Yankee Stadium because of what Mrs. Baker did. And so he was spiking the football, running around being like, I get to do, the sport emporium renovation. The high school. Yeah. And Yankee Stadium is like, $1 million, multi-year, massive contract. So his uppance has come.
Yeah.
We have this amazing scene at the dinner table with the sister, and she's like, I'm gonna go to California, I'm gonna go to Colombia, I'm gonna live my life. And he says, they're eating lima beans, and the dad says, when lima beans fly. And of course he's, Holling says, and I guess my sister showed him that lima beans can fly. So great.
So great. And you can picture young hippie sister.
Oh yes.
Corpo architect scum dad. And just like that, you can picture the tension of that scene, and a handful of lima beans felt like tactile in my mind, picturing the visible revenge and immediate revenge from that sentence.
So dad, because he's going through a midlife crisis, buys a convertible Ford Mustang, trying to, have some joy in capitalistic ways, and he and his mom, go out and drive around in the Mustang, but the sister runs away from home, off with her boyfriend who drives the VW bus.
Yeah, Chit or whatever his name is. Classic.
Yeah, Chit.
Oh, you and so Chit good. In your Volkswagen Bug? Cool.
It's so Jenny from Forrest Gump,
Oh, yeah.
So we're into Hamlet now. We're reading Hamlet, and of course, all the stuff about fathers, and it's very resonant. But he wants to skip over the boring parts. He's like, the problem with having a character who's talks all the time is that you have to write long speeches where they talk all the time to get the point across.
Yeah.
He's like, I skipped all the Polonius parts.
Yeah.
And he has this wonderful conversation with Mrs. Baker where she's like, you can't skip parts of Hamlet. He's like, actually, I think you can. He's like, you can have a happy life by skipping parts of the Hamlet. And she goes, maybe you can't. Maybe you can't have a happy life by skipping parts of Hamlet. And I was like, speaking to my soul.
There's also little parts in there where I'm not even going to get the words that she pulls up. She's like, here's the things about the thing that you're feeling. And she'd like use a word that he doesn't know in a sentence. And he'd be like, and that's a sneaky teacher way of making you look up a word that you don't know.
Oh, so great. So great. Meanwhile, Danny is practicing for his bar mitzvah, having to learn Hebrew. He literally is practicing under the desk because they have to sit there at these bombing drills. And of course, resonant for today as well in a different way. Really heart-wrenching. So Holling has this revelation that he doesn't want to turn into his dad. And Mrs. Baker says, well, you know what we'll do? We'll go on a field trip. I hate this. They're underneath the desks. He's like, is this going to do anything? What are we going to do when the bombs fall? Are we even going to be safe here?
Because on Wednesdays, even when everybody is gone, they still do the bombing drills. And it was just Holling sitting under a desk and Miss Baker not participating in the drill.
Yeah. And she's like, all right, here we're going to go on a field trip. So she literally, contrives a way to go on a field trip by having, the spilling her vinegar in the room. It smells terrible. So they go on this field trip to old buildings in town, just providing him culture and context. And she says, here's the line that I wrote down that I just adore. She says, learn everything you can, everything. Then use all you have learned to be a wise and good man.
Yeah.
Boom. There it is. Put it on a t-shirt. They pray together. They go into this Catholic church. They pray together, light a candle together. And
a huge detail that we missed before this.
Yeah.
Was that Mrs. Baker got a letter, a missive.
Right.
That
yes.
Her husband, who's in the war, is MIA. He's right. Missing in action.
That's right.
So it's like a special thing. That's not like, he wasn't killed in action, but they can't find him. And so there is underlying all of this, Mrs. Baker still showing up for her students, still showing up in the way that she does, while her husband is indeterminate whether or not he's dead or alive. And obviously the Vietnam War was a horrible, drawn out, miserably executed. Everything to do with it was casualties. Not massive casualties. Yeah. There was not a lot of hope. And so them going on this field trip together, getting out of the classroom, getting out of their heads, and then lighting candles together in this church to pray together is a lovely,
incredibly
moment.
Powerful. And he prays for his sister to be safe. He prays, and like the things he prays for, he gets a call from his sister in the middle of the night when she knows the parents won't answer. She's had, the very predictable end result of this is that she's had a breakup with the boyfriend. She's stuck somewhere, has no money, can't get home.
She's in Minneapolis.
So he says, and she's on this payphone. Tick tock, tick tock. You have to deposit 30 more cents to continue your call. She can't. He says, can you get to a Western Union? Get to a Western Union tomorrow. So he had won the $100 bond for, I think it was for the track meet was how he won that.
The track meet, the prize for winning the track meet was $100 bond.
Yeah. So he asks his parents to take him into town. They won't. The family is fracturing. The sister is gone. Mom and dad are no longer riding around in the Mustang together.
Since the sister is gone, the house he describes as being like so empty, where there's like the facade of it carrying on as normal, but like the weight of his sister's absence is so palpable. His parents won't help with anything. He does get to a Western Union. He gets it's $100 bond. If he waited longer, it would be $100, but it's $50, $52 or something like that to send it to his sister. He's like guessing at which Western Union and just hoping she actually gets that money and gets to the right spot, because it was like a cutoff phone call. And then sure enough, it works. He gets some sort of word that she's on the way home, but she needs to be picked up by the station. And her parents, even though they clearly were sick with worry and distress and this weight of the absence was gone, still refused to go pick up their daughter from the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're probably pressed for time. Do you have to go?
I'm good.
Okay, because there's a couple of details here that I don't want to miss that I just absolutely love, which is the way the parents can't go. He's like, well, why don't you drive yourself? He's like, fine, I will drive myself. He goes, picks up the keys to the Mustang, his dad's like prized possession, gets in the Mustang to drive it, realizes he doesn't know how to get around New York City. He can't drive. He's 7th grader. He's frustrated, goes back in, phone rings. It's Meryl Lee saying, hey, my dad's going into the city. Do you want to come? He's like, oh, can you drop me off at the Western Union? She's like, oh yeah, sure. So literally it's Meryl Lee who solves that problem for him. Mm-hmm. And the brilliant way, there's 2 different Western Unions. There's 2 different, he tells the Western Union guy, is there a Western Union near the bus stop in, whatever place that Chicago or wherever it was that she was stuck
Minneapolis somewhere.
Oh, Minneapolis. That's what it was. Yes, there's 2. What are they? This one and Heather Station.
Yeah.
And he goes, Heather Station. That's the one. And we don't know. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
Brilliant withholding of information. She's only been referred to as my sister, the flower child. Come to find out her name is Heather.
Yeah.
She went to Heather Station. Of course, he bets on that. And it's right. She gets the money. He doesn't know. There's no way to know. We don't have cell phones yet. We don't have any communication. It's beautiful. They meet at Heather Station. She's there. And he says, did you find...
they meet at the station in New York once she gets back.
And then they go to Central Park for the day and like have this wonderful brother and sister holding hands in Central Park, like living it up, having hot dogs, like being together again, like having found each other. And he gets home. Dad doesn't say anything. She bring her home, having been, estranged for so long. Dad is unwilling to say anything other than, well, did you find yourself? Because she said, I need to go find myself in California. Did you find yourself? Did you find yourself? That's all he would say. And Halling says, she didn't. She found me. She found me. Beautiful, beautiful. Even better, we get a telegram for Mrs. Baker saying her husband has been found. Literally all the things that they prayed for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her husband has been found against all odds.
Yeah.
Well, actually how this plays out, she gets the telegram. Oh, do you want to send? Holling's the only one else, other person in the room. The 2 of them together on Wednesdays. Do you want to send Halling away? Halling says, I knew she wouldn't send me away. You don't send someone away you've lit a candle with.
Yeah.
She can't read the telegram. She's too overcome by emotion. He picks it up and reads it. It says, I'm found. I'm okay. I'll be home in time for strawberries.
It's got their relationship language built in.
Yeah.
It's not like, hello, Mrs. Baker, my wife. It's like, hey, lovely eyes.
Yeah.
It's like her pet name. Ugh.
Home in Time for Strawberries. Beautiful, brilliant. Okay, it's final chapter. They decide to go camping. We can go through this quickly. We get the details of Mr. Baker's miraculous rescue, which is like a movie in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know how he got rescued from the
He
jungles
leapt
of Vietnam.
leapt out of a crashing helicopter.
Crazy.
Sliced through his leg, rescued by a local family that kept him hidden long enough because the war is being, put to an end.
Yeah, and so the two of them, the Bakers, used to go camping all the time. She didn't like it. He did, but you know what? He's coming back. She's going to take the kids camping, even though she doesn't like it. She's smiling all the time now, Mrs. Baker. She's just so overjoyed. He's not back yet. And they start reading Much Ado About Nothing. One of my favorite plays. And, I kept thinking, oh, the last one's going to be Hamlet. And I thought, no. The last play is going to be Lear. It's going to be Lear. It's definitely going to be Lear. And it's so beautiful that the last play is a comedy. We get all this discussion about what makes a comedy. It's like, oh, it's not funny. It's not funny. Although I would argue Much Ado is very funny. But it's not funny to a 7th grader. And she says, well, maybe a comedy is the choice of the characters to have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was beautiful. He reflects on this notion. He's like, oh yeah, the characters in this play fall out of love. That's not how it works. You fall out of love slowly. You stop talking to each other. You just smoke out the window and you stop having car rides in the Mustang. It's like, we have the backdrop of Bobby Kennedy's assassination, which, rocks the sister, and she's back to sort of not really dealing with him anymore. Just hiding in her room and listening to Pete Seeger and the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have this camping trip, and the camping trip is a disaster on a number of levels. His bag busts and all the utensils fall and they lose them. They have to bash open the cans of chili with sharp rocks. It pours down rain on them.
We've also had sort of Mrs. Biggio's redemption arc of like, she's there on the camping trip helping out. She's cooking. She's burning her fingers, trying to flip burgers in the pot over the fire just with her hands. She cuts her hands open on all the cans. I think she's like, spent a lot of time with the kids now and sort of going through her own sort of phases of grief in the background, and things feel really settled over the course of the camping trip.
Yeah. And they have this wonderful moment where they find this swimming hole and they're diving and swimming, and all the kids are having a good time because the sun has peeked out through the clouds from the rain. And then, of course, Doug, who was refusing to poop in the woods, finally has to go and has been eating chili for every meal, brings on this massive mosquito attack. And the mosquitoes attack everybody. It's just this disaster of a camping trip, which is like so charming and beautiful in and of itself. Mm-hmm. And we have this moment where Mrs. Biggio invites Mighty to live with her because now her house is empty. Her husband has passed, but just like this wonderful, beautiful thing.
She's like adopting Mighty. Like after what they've been through, she's sort of come around and realized that they're both alone and for the same reasons. Because I think the Heritage Foundation or whatever the frig it's called, that's like doing that's not the right thing. There's so many words like that, but it's like the place that does like the relief is like shutting down because the war is shutting down. And so Mighty needs a place to go. And so she's offering to sort of adopt her and bring her into her house.
Beautiful. We end with Danny's bar mitzvah, who he's been practicing for, and it resonates for Holling because he recognizes the beauty of that, the poetry of it, the acceptance, and of course goes completely over his father's head, who just can't understand. Like, aren't you so glad you don't have to do stuff like that? And Holling's like, no, I think that's actually kind of beautiful. He became a man. He's like, that's not how you become a man. And Holling realizes, yes, being a man is actually having some autonomy, some choice, deciding whether you're going to have the happy ending for yourself. And then we have this wonderful Mrs. Baker moment at the end where, she finds joy. Her husband is back in time for strawberries. This book is great.
The book is
So
great.
good.
Uh,
Big thanks to my son for the reco.
huge thanks for the recommendation. Really,
Unexpected.
what a W. What a delight. There's no world where I would have like found this book or it would have crossed my path and I would have been able to read it without this experience. So huge thanks to your son for this gift. What a gift. What a gift.
Totally unexpected. I did not anticipate this being such a home run for us. And we would talk about it for 2 hours. I appreciate you guys. If you guys have been along for this, if you have, kids in this age range, I cannot recommend this higher. And you know what? I will specifically recommend, if you haven't picked up on this already, read it with them. That connection, the amount of time that I've spent over the last 2 days just talking to my son about the book and what his favorite moments are. And he's not a kid that opens up a lot to me on his own, and I think that's common. But we've had this point of connection that is really, really been lovely. And I think this is a worthwhile read for any age, truly. Lovely book.
Lovely book.
I actually have a couple of quotes.
Me too.
Oh, good. Amazing. We didn't talk about this beforehand.
I
We were
know.
going to do it. I love it. Okay.
I made it, I think, mostly way through the book before I was like, I should be highlighting some stuff. I've got a quote after Mickey Mantle did not sign the baseball.
Okay. Go for it. I have 3, but we
And
don't
so
have to
this
all
is
of-
Halling thinking that he was meeting his idol.
Yeah.
When gods die, they die hard. It's not like they fade away or grow old or fall asleep. They die in fire and pain, and when they come out of you, they leave your guts burned. It hurts more than anything you can talk about. And maybe worst of all is you're not sure if there will ever be another god to fill their place, or if you'd ever want another god to fill their place. You don't want fire to go out inside you twice.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Beautiful.
Come on. The idea of being like, oh, Mickey Mantle's a god. And then that internalization of what that means and how it feels to lose that hope, that brightness. Ugh, so good.
I have a couple. Here's the fun exchange at the beginning of the book. Halling comes to his mom. How was your first day? My mother said. Mom, I said, Mrs. Baker hates my guts. Mrs. Baker doesn't hate your guts. She stopped fanning and closed the window. Yes, she does. Mrs. Baker hardly knows you. Mom, it's not like you have to know someone well to hate their guts. You don't sit around and have a long conversation and then decide whether or not to hate their guts. You just do. And she does. I'm sure Mrs. Baker is a fine person, and she certainly does not hate your guts. How do parents get to where they can say things like this? There must be some gene that switches on at the birth of the firstborn child, and suddenly stuff that starts to come out of their mouths, it's like they haven't figured out that the language you're using is English and that they should be able to understand what you're saying. Instead, they pull a string on them and a bad record plays. I guess they can't help it. I love that.
I've got a quote from later on where it's from Macbeth.
Yeah.
And it's the section where, Halling's a little out of it, not feeling great, and he hasn't put his all into reading Macbeth. It's not so easy to read Shakespeare, especially when he can't come up with names that you can tell apart. Mrs. Baker rolled her eyes. This time I was sure. Shakespeare did not write for your ease of reading, she said. No kidding, I thought. He wrote to express something about what it means to be a human being in words more beautiful than had ever yet been written. So in Macbeth, he wasn't trying to find names that sound alike. What did he want to express in words more beautiful than had ever yet been written? Mrs. Baker looked at me for a long moment. Then she went back and sat down at her desk. That we are made for more than power, she said softly. That we are made for more than our desires. That pride combined with stubbornness can be disaster. and that compared with love, malice is a small and petty thing.
The next line after that is, we were both quiet. Beautiful. I had that one picked out too. Beautiful.
So good.
All right, I have one last one. The Robert Kennedy campaign announcing that he would be stopping on Long Island before the New York primary, my sister would have flipped. And I realized that the biggest part of the empty in the house was my sister being gone. Maybe the first time that you know you really care about something is when you think about it not being there. And you really know that the emptiness is as much inside you as outside you. For it so falls out that what we have, we prize not to the worth whiles we enjoy it. But being lacked and lost, why, then we rack the value. Then we find the virtue that possession would not show us while it was ours. And that, when I knew for the first time that I really did love my sister.
Ugh.
It's beautiful because the book has been written in this wonderful kid thing. And then at that point, he just moves into that Shakespearean cadence effortlessly and without comment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he matures in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, his language matures. And he's not quoting it. He's not putting inverted commas around anything. It's just seamless. Beautiful.
All the stuff with this book is so good. I'm too sensitive. But I remember I didn't have like a dramatic moment about it, but when my brother moved just to go to university, and I remember that moment of being in the basement before he was getting on his flight or driving out there. I don't even know how he got out there, but he was going to university, and we didn't like hang out a bunch. We hung out as a family. We did things. And I remember looking at my brother in the basement and realizing like, oh, I'm not going to like see you. I'm just not going to see you till Christmas, till we visit, till whenever. And that moment of being sort of shrugging, we weren't even like hugging siblings really at the time. It was just like, oh, I guess you're leaving. And he goes, I guess I'll see you.
Yeah.
And then he was gone.
Yeah.
And knowing, I mean, I'm so close with my brothers now. But that feeling of that emptiness that you didn't know you could feel. Oh, it's so well written. This book is so good. Read this book.
Gary D. Schmidt is the author. Beautiful. And I think continues to reinforce this magical serendipity that has encircled this book club since the start, where like we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into with Malazan. We didn't know what we were getting ourselves into with the Wednesday Wars. And both have been really surprisingly wonderful additions to our lives. So now the onus is on you to determine what we read next. So again, check out that poll. Patreon.com/DLC pod is where you find it. You need to become a patron if you want to vote. Patron at any level that you want to support us. We would appreciate it. But we will find out next week where we're headed next. But thank you for indulging this little, I got to say, pretty self-serving thing with for me and my family and my son. But I think it really was wonderful. So thank you, Lana. I really appreciate you as usual. Thank you,
Jeff.
And thanks to Gary D. Schmidt for writing Wednesday Wars. Really wonderful stuff. All right. We'll see you next week. Until then, I hope you can keep dancing.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing